Hi students, welcome back to GDC classes. This is another session of the RRB Tejas series, and in this session we will be discussing MCQs on the topics nervous system and cardiovascular system under the human anatomy and physiology. So let us start. So the first question is, which of the following is not a function of the circulatory system? So the circulatory system constitutes the heart, which pumps the blood, and the blood vessels which carry blood to different parts of the body. So which is among these which is not a function of the circulatory system? Homeostasis, transport of gases, urea formation, or temperature regulation? So the answer is urea formation. So urea is an excretory product, and the formation of urea is a function of the excretory system, particularly the liver, but not the circulatory system. And the functions of the circulatory system, it performs homeostasis. That means it maintains a stable internal environment within the body, and it also permits the transportation of nutrients from the digestive system. So from the digested food, the nutrients will be transported by the blood to different parts of the body, and also it transport oxygen from the lungs to different tissues, and carbon dioxide from the tissues to the lungs. Hormones, so the endocrine glands, they release the hormones directly into the blood. Okay, the endocrine glands or ductless glands, so they release their secretions directly into the blood, and the blood will carry the hormones to the target organs. And they help in the removal of metabolic waste. They maintain the body temperature and the pH. So like if the blood vessels, if they are constricting, then the heat will be conserved within the body. And if the blood vessels are dilated, if the blood vessels are dilating, then the heat will be radiated off from the body. So these phenomena, they will control the body temperature and also protects the body from certain diseases. The blood has different the white blood cells, the immune cells like the macrophages, neutrophils. These will help in fighting against any microbes or pathogens that enter our body. It also regulates the body activities by transporting hormones. So the hormones which are transported to the target organs, the hormones will influence or alter the functions of different organs. Like for example, if the growth hormone is transported from the anterior pituitary to the muscles, then it will cause an increase in the muscle mass. It also causes an increase in the bone mass, and it maintains homeostasis. Next question: which of these is not included in the vascular system? So among these organs, which is not a part of the vascular system? Heart, blood vessels, blood, and the lungs. So lungs are not a part of the vascular system. It is a part of the respiratory system, the pulmonary system. And what does the cardiovascular system constitutes? It constitutes the heart, which pumps the blood, and the blood vessels like the arteries, arterioles, capillaries, veins, venules, which will transport blood all over the body. Then what is the covering of the heart known as? Meninges, pleura, pericardium, or peritoneum. So what is the covering of the heart? It is known as pericardium. So here the outermost covering of the heart is known as pericardium. And between the inner pericardial layer and the outer pericardial layer, there is a space within which the pericardial fluid is present. Okay, and the meninges are the coverings of the brain. Pleura is an outer lining of the lungs, and peritoneum is the lining of body cavities. Next question: what is the opening between the right auricle, that is the right atrium, and the right ventricle called? So the blood from the right atrium, it flows into the right ventricle. So through what wall? So what is the wall that is present between the right atrium and the right ventricle? Aortic wall, bicuspid wall, tricuspid wall, or the pulmonary wall? The answer is tricuspid wall. So the tricuspid wall here is the right atrium and this is the right ventricle. The valve present is the tricuspid valve, or you can call it as the right atrioventricular valve. So this valve will control the flow of blood from the right atrium into the right ventricle. Next question. Blood passes from the left atrium and the left ventricle through which valve? So the tricuspid valve will control the passage of blood from the right atrium to the right ventricle, and here it is asking which valve will control the blood flow from the left atrium to the left ventricle. Mitral valve, tricuspid valve, aortic valve, and pulmonary valve. So the answer is mitral valve. Mitral valve here, this thing between the left atrium and the left ventricle. This is known as the mitral valve, or you can call it as the bicuspid valve or the left atrioventricular valve. Next question, what is the location of the sinoatrial node? So this sinoatrial node, it is a natural pacemaker of the heart. That means it is involved in the generation of action potentials, and these action potentials will be transported or transmitted to different parts of the heart muscle, which will cause the heart to contract, heart to pump the blood. So this is known as the natural pacemaker of the heart. So where this SA node is situated? Left upper corner of right ventricle, right upper corner of right ventricle, right upper corner of left atrium, and right upper corner of right atrium. The answer is right upper corner of right atrium. So here this is the right atrium, and in the upper corner the sinoatrial node is present, which whose function is to generate the action potentials. So the SA node, it has an ability to generate around 70 to 75 action potentials per minute. So that's why the heart, it beats up to 72 times per minute. Then of the which of these is known as the pacemaker of the heart? So we know, just now we have discussed the Purkinje fibers, atrioventricular node, sinoatrial node, or the bundle of His. So obviously it is the sinoatrial node. So the sinoatrial, this is the sinoatrial node. When it generates the action potential, it will transmit from the sinoatrial node. The action potential gets transmitted to the atrioventricular node, from the atrioventricular node to the bundle of His, from the bundle of His to the Purkinje fibers. So the transmission of the action potential all along the heart muscles, like from the SA node to the AV node to the bundle of His, from the bundle of His to the Purkinje fibers. So this transmission of the action potential, it will cause the heart muscle to contract, it will cause the heart to pump the blood. Okay. And which of the following part of the heart pumps deoxygenated blood to the pulmonary vein? So the options are left ventricle, right ventricle, left atrium, and right atrium. Okay. So the answer is right ventricle. Right ventricle will pump the blood, the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Right atrium collects the deoxygenated blood from the vena cava and push it to the right ventricle. So this the right atrium, the superior and inferior vena cava, they will collect the blood, the deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body, and they will carry the blood to the right atrium. So this is the superior vena cava and this is the inferior vena cava. They will carry the deoxygenated blood to the right atrium, and okay, and the sorry, yeah, the deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body, it is carried to the right atrium by the superior and inferior vena cava. From the right atrium, it is pumped to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it will be passed into the pulmonary arteries. Okay, the deoxygenated blood, and the from the pulmonary arteries, they will enter into the lungs. Okay, they will enter into the lungs. Within the lungs, the blood will be oxygenated, and the oxygenated blood will be carried by the pulmonary veins to the left atrium. Okay, the left atrium, it collects the oxygenated blood from the pulmonary vein and pushes it to the left, sorry, from the pulmonary vein it enters the left atrium, and from the left atrium it enters into the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle it enters into the aorta, from the aorta to different parts of the body. So listen carefully, I will properly tell the order. The deoxygenated blood through the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, it enters into the right atrium. So deoxygenated blood first enters into the right atrium, then the right ventricle, from the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery, from the pulmonary artery to the lungs where it gets oxygenated, from the lungs to the pulmonary vein, from the pulmonary vein to the left atrium, then to the left ventricle, from the left ventricle to the aorta, which is the biggest vessel, biggest blood vessel in the body, and from the aorta to different parts of the body which require blood, nutrients, and oxygen. So that is the correct sequence of blood transportation. Next question, which is known as heart of heart? SA node, AV node, bundle of His and Purkinje fibers. So the answer is SA node. So of course, if the SA node is not working properly, the heart won't be able to function properly. It can't contract, it can't pump the blood to different parts of the body. And next question is, what is the formula for cardiac output? Stroke volume minus heart rate, stroke volume plus heart rate, stroke volume multiplied by heart rate, or stroke volume divided by heart rate. So the answer is stroke volume multiplied by heart rate. So what is the cardiac output? It is the total volume of blood ejected or pumped by the heart per minute. Okay, what is the amount of blood that is being pumped by the heart per minute? It is known as the cardiac output. And cardiac output is the product of stroke volume and heartbeat. What is stroke volume? Stroke volume means it is the volume of blood pumped by the heart or by the left ventricle per each stroke or per each heartbeat. So this stroke volume, if you want to measure the cardiac output, stroke volume has to be multiplied by the heart rate. Heart rate means it is around 70 to 75 beats per minute. So we will take 72 beats per minute. So if we multiply the stroke volume with the heart rate, the average cardiac output of a healthy adult is around 5 liters per minute. So 5 liters of blood is being ejected or pumped by the heart per minute. Next question. In the ECG, the depolarization of the atria is indicated by. So ECG, it is used to measure the functioning of the heart. It is the electrocardiogram. So which wave indicates the depolarization of atria or the contraction of the atria? P wave, Q wave, R wave, or the S wave. So the answer is P wave. P wave indicates the atrial depolarization or the atrial contraction. QRS complex, so this complex, here it is R, it indicates the ventricular depolarization, that is ventricular contraction. T wave indicates ventricular repolarization. PR interval indicates atrial depolarization and the conduction through the AV node. And QT interval, it indicates electrical activity of the ventricles. ST segment, it is isoelectric, so it indicates the time between the end of the ventricular repolarization and the start of ventricular repolarization. So the activity is very less during this time. So that's why it is a very, you can observe it is a flat line here. So that is why it is known as isoelectric segment. Now coming to the next question. Oxygenated blood from the lungs is carried to the heart by pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein, coronary vein, or precaval. So the answer is pulmonary vein. Deoxygenated blood is carried to the lungs by the pulmonary artery, and the oxygenated blood is carried to the heart by the pulmonary vein. So here is the schematic diagram. The lungs, the right ventricle pumps the deoxygenated blood through the pulmonary arteries into the lungs, and the lungs will carry the oxygenated blood through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. Left side of the heart has the oxygenated blood, right side of the heart has a deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary arteries will carry the deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary veins will carry the oxygenated blood. Now, pulse pressure means diastolic pressure, systolic pressure, difference between systolic and diastolic pressure, or pressure in the pulmonary veins. So, what does it mean? The difference between the systolic and the diastolic pressure. So, how we measure the pulse pressure? By measuring the difference between the systolic pressure and the diastolic pressure. So, systolic pressure means it is the pressure within the blood vessels when the heart is when the heart is contracting, when the heart is pumping. And when the heart is at rest, what is the pressure within the blood vessels? So systolic pressure, the heart rate records the number of times that your heart beats per minute, while your blood pressure quantifies how strong your blood moves through the blood vessels. So when the heart is contracting, how strongly the blood is moving through the blood vessels, or what is the pressure within the blood vessels, that is known as the systolic blood pressure. And when the heart is not beating, what is the force by which the blood flows through the blood vessels, or what is the pressure within the blood vessels when the heart is not beating. So that is known as the diastolic pressure. The difference between the systolic blood pressure and the diastolic blood pressure is known as the pulse pressure. That is nothing but the blood pressure. Next question: all arteries carry the oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery, renal artery, hepatic artery, and cardiac artery. So, which artery doesn't carry the oxygenated blood? So, the answer is pulmonary artery. So, we know that, right? The lungs in the lungs, the blood will be oxygenated, and the oxygenated blood will be carried to the heart through the pulmonary veins, not the pulmonary arteries. But the renal artery, that is the artery of the liver, sorry, the renal artery of the kidney, hepatic artery, that is the artery of liver, cardiac artery means it is the aorta. So these blood vessels, they will carry the oxygenated blood. Only the pulmonary artery will carry the deoxygenated blood to the heart. The next question: hardening of the arteries due to the deposition of cholesterol is called. So, if the cholesterol levels or the lipid levels in the blood increases, they will get deposited in the arteries. And this condition, it can cause some interference in the blood transmission to the heart and also from the heart. And this condition is called rhinitis, atherosclerosis, thrombosis, or stenosis. So the answer is atherosclerosis. So it is a condition in which the buildup of fat, cholesterol, and other substances will happen in the artery walls. So this is an artery, and the cholesterols, the lipids, and other substances, they will build up and they will form a plaque. Okay, this is a plaque, and it will cause interference to the transportation of the blood. Next, which of the following is correct definition for bradycardia? So it is a heart condition. Irregular heartbeat, increased rate of heartbeat, decreased heart rate, or inadequate flow of blood to a part of the heart. So what is the answer? It is a decreased heart rate. So bradycardia means decreased heart rate. So the normal heart rate is between 70 to 75 beats per minute. And if the rate goes down below 70, then it is known as bradycardia. And if the heart rate is increased, then it is known as tachycardia. If the heart rate is very irregular, so sometimes it will decrease, sometimes it will increase, that is known as arrhythmia. It is irregular heartbeat. Coronary thrombosis, it is the formation of clot in the coronary artery. So coronary artery means it is a blood vessel of the heart. And if there is any formation of clots in that particular artery which will cause interference to the blood flow, then it is known as coronary thrombosis. Okay, thrombosis. Atherosclerosis, as you know, it is the thickening of walls of the blood vessels due to deposition of the fat or due to the formation of the plaque. Myocardial ischemia, inadequate flow of blood to a part of heart. So when due to atherosclerosis, that is due to the formation of the plaques, or due to the coronary thrombosis, that is due to the formation of clots. So because of these conditions, there will be an interference to the blood flow to the heart. So because of this, what happens, a part of the heart will not be supplied with required amount of blood. So if blood is not supplied properly, automatically the oxygen will not be supplied properly to the cardiac muscle, and this will cause a condition called myocardial ischemia. And if this condition is prolonged, it can lead to heart attack. Arteriosclerosis is a hardening, or it is a phenomena of losing the elasticity of the arteries. So atherosclerosis is different and arteriosclerosis is different. Arteriosclerosis means the elasticity of the blood vessels, that is the arteries, will be lost. Arteries, the walls of the blood vessels are very they are very elastic in nature. They can easily dilate, and they can contract based on the requirement. But if the elasticity is lost, then the contraction and the dilation of the arteries will not take place properly. Next question. Heartbeat initiates from. So where the heartbeat is initiated? Purkinje fibers, SA nodes, bundle of His, or the AV node. So the answer is SA node. SA node will generate the, so here is the SA node. So it generates the action potential. It generates the heartbeat. Formation of a clot in the coronary arteries is termed as arrhythmia, coronary thrombosis, myocardial ischemia, or atherosclerosis. It is coronary thrombosis. Coronary thrombosis is the formation of the clots in coronary artery. Atherosclerosis, it is the formation of the plaques within the arteries. Now, system of the body which coordinates and controls the activities of different body parts is known as organ system, muscular system, skeletal system, and nervous system. So we have different organ systems in our body: the nervous system, excretory system, respiratory system, digestive system, muscular system, skeletal system. So among these systems, which will coordinate and control the activities of other body parts, so it is the nervous system. The nervous system, what does the nervous system constitute? It constitutes different branches of neurons, and neurons are innervated to different parts of the body, and these nerves will influence the actions of different parts of the body. So the nervous system, it is divided into two parts: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system constitutes the brain and the spinal cord, whereas the peripheral nervous system, it constitutes all the nerves like the atomic and the somatic nervous system. Cranial nerve that regulates the smell. So what is the cranial nerve which is responsible for the perceiving for perceiving the smell? Olfactory nerve, optic nerve, oculomotor nerve, or the facial nerve? So the answer is olfactory nerve. Olfactory nerve is a sensory nerve which helps in perceiving the smell, whereas the optic nerve, which is also a sensory nerve, which helps in perceiving the sight. Oculomotor nerve, which is a motor nerve, it controls the movement of the eyeball. Facial nerve, it is a mixed nerve, that means it has both sensory and motor functions. It will it controls different facial functions like helping in detecting the taste, mastication, facial expressions, saliva secretion, and also the neck movement. Next question. Which part of the body is the control center for the nervous system? Spinal cord, stomach, brain, heart? So what is the answer? Brain. Of course, brain is the control system, control center of the body itself. Okay, it controls, the brain will control the different functions of the body. Next, what is the biggest part of the brain? Brain stem, think, cerebrum, cerebellum. The answer is cerebrum. So cerebrum is the largest and uppermost part of the brain. So this whole part, this is the cerebrum. So the cerebrum, it is divided into two areas, the two cerebral hemispheres: the right cerebral hemisphere and the left cerebral hemisphere. and the cerebrum accounts for two-thirds of the total weight of the brain. So the almost 75 60 to 70% of the weight of the brain constitutes is constituted by the cerebrum. Next, which part of the brain controls the emotional experiences? The pia mater, cerebellum, limbic system, and the medulla oblongata. So, which part of the brain controls the emotions of a person? It is the limbic system. Limbic system, which is also known as the paleomammalian cortex, it is located on both sides of the thalamus. So, this is the thalamus. On both sides, the limbic system is present. So it supports a variety of functions including the emotions of a person, behavior of a person, long term memory, and also the ability to sense the smell. Now midbrain, so the brain is divided into three parts: the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. So what is the midbrain? What is the other name for the midbrain? Medulla, diencephalon, mesencephalon, or the hypothalamus? So the answer is mesencephalon. Forebrain is also known as prosencephalon, midbrain also known as mesencephalon, hindbrain is also known as the rhombencephalon. So what is the function of the midbrain? It is associated with the vision, hearing, temperature regulation, and also like the sexual arousal. Next question. What connects the two hemispheres of the brain? So the cerebrum is divided into two parts, the right and the left cerebral hemispheres. So which structure will attach these two cerebral hemispheres? Pons, pia mater, corpus callosum, and the diencephalon. So the answer is corpus callosum. Callosum is a thick band of nerve fibers so that attaches the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere. It connects and also establishes some connection between the right and the left hemisphere. Next question. What is the other name of parasympathetic division? Thoracolumbar outflow, thoracosacral outflow, craniosacral outflow, or the craniolumbar outflow. So what is the other name for the parasympathetic nervous system? So the peripheral nervous system, it is divided into two types, two divisions. It has two divisions: the autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system again have two divisions: the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So this parasympathetic nervous system, which is also known as the craniosacral outflow. So the parasympathetic region is also known as craniosacral outflow. So what does it mean? The neurons of the parasympathetic nervous system arise from the brainstem, that is the cranial region of the that is from the brainstem, and also from the thoracic region of the spinal cord. Sorry, the sacral region of the spinal cord. So some nerves will arise from the brainstem, that is the cranial region, and some nerves will arise from the sacral part of the spinal cord. Whereas the sympathetic division, it is also known as thoracolumbar. It is also known as thoracolumbar outflow because the nerves will arise from the thoracic region and also the lumbar region of the spinal cord. And next question. Autonomic nervous system affects reflex actions, sensory organs, visceral organs, none of the above. So the answer is visceral organs. So visceral organs means the smooth muscles, different blood vessels, glands, cardiac muscles. So the autonomic nervous system will influence the actions of the different viscera in our body. Like it will causes the blood vessels to contract or dilate. It will causes the glands to increase their secretions or decrease their secretions, and also the the beating of the heart, pumping action of the heart. Next, how many cranial nerves are present in our body? 12 pairs, 11 pairs, 10 pairs, or 14 pairs. So cranial nerves, the nerves which arise from the brain, how many pairs are present in our body? There are 12. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. So the first one is olfactory, optic nerve, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, trigeminal nerve, abducens nerve, facial nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, vagus nerve, accessory nerve, and the hypoglossal nerve. So each nerve has a particular function. So there is a mnemonic just for you to help with the remembrance of these nerves. Only one of the two athletes felt very good, victorious, and healthy. So if you remember this sentence, you can remember. It will be easy for you to remember these cranial nerves. Next question: which of the following cranial nerve of the human is both sensory and motor? So the nerves are either sensory in nature or motor in nature, or they can be mixed. So among these, which is both sensory and motor in nature? Olfactory, optic nerve, trigeminal nerve, or the hypoglossal nerve? So the answer is trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve, which is the nerve number 5. So olfactory nerve, it is a sensory nerve which is concerned with perceiving the smell. Optic nerve, which is a sensory nerve, it is it is concerned with the visual function. Oculomotor nerve, of course, it is a motor nerve, and it influences the eye movement and the pupil dilation. Trochlear nerve, it also influences the eye movement, which is a motor nerve. Sensory nerve means it will carry the information from the sensory nerves to the from the outside to the brain. Okay, sensory nerves will carry information to the brain, whereas the motor nerves will carry information from the brain to the effector organs. So that is the difference between the sensory and motor nerves. Trigeminal nerve, it is a mixed nerve, both motor and sensory functions. It performs both the functions. It influences the facial sensations, facial smell, lacrimal secretion, facial expressions, etc. Abducens nerve, it is a motor nerve. It influences the movements of the eyeball. Facial nerve, it is both a sensory and a motor nerve. It influences the facial expressions, the taste, smell, lacrimal secretions, etc. Vestibulocochlear nerve. Vestibulocochlear nerve, it is a sensory nerve which sends the hearing information and also the balance information from the ear. Okay, ear is responsible for balancing the body and also for hearing the sound waves. So these vestibulocochlear nerve, it will carry the sensory information from the ears to the brain. Glossopharyngeal nerve, it is again, it is both sensory and motor. It influences the taste, the gag reflex. Gag reflex means if any foreign object, like for example an ice stick or popsicle stick, if it tries to enter our mouth, the gag reflex, that means we will not be able to swallow it, we will try to vomit. So that is known as the gag reflex. Vagus nerve, it is both sensory and motor. It has the parasympathetic innovations, like means the nerves associated to the parasympathetic nervous system uh, uh, you know will be associated with the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve influences the functions of the parasympathetic nervous system, like decreasing the heart rate, or decreasing influencing the secretions of the glands, like that. Accessory nerve, it is motor nerve, and it influences the heart, head and shoulder movement. Okay, it influences the movement of the head and shoulder. Next, the hypoglossal nerve, it is a motor nerve which influences the tongue movement. Okay, it is it is just confined to the movement or the actions of the tongue. So among these nerves, the trigeminal nerve, facial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, and the vagus nerve. So these four nerves are mixed nerves. That means they have both sensory and motor functions. Whereas the olfactory nerve, optic nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve, these are sensory in nature. That means the olfactory nerve means it is for the smell. Optic nerve is for the vision, and the vestibulocochlear nerve, it is for the hearing. So these three are sensory nerves, and remaining are motor nerves. And next question: which of the following does not act as a neurotransmitter? So what are neurotransmitters? These are the chemicals present within the body which will help the neurons to interact with each other. So the neurotransmitters will be transmitted from one neuron to other neuron. So this way the neurons will communicate with each other. And the neurotransmitters are endogenous chemicals. That means the chemicals which are produced within the body. So GABA, acetylcholine, cortisone, and norepinephrine. So what is so among the following which cannot act as a neurotransmitter? So the answer is cortisone. Cortisone is a hormone that is secreted by the adrenal cortex. Okay, it is a hormone and it cannot act as a neurotransmitter. These are the neurotransmitters. So these are the different natures. The amino acids are aspartic acid, glycine, glutamic acid, and GABA. Aspartic acid and glutamic acid are excitatory in nature, whereas the glycine and GABA are inhibitory in nature. So these are the hormones of amino acids. So they are derived from amino acids. From peptides, the vasopressin, which is the antidiuretic hormone, and somatostatin, which is a growth hormone inhibiting hormone, and also it also is secreted in the stomach, which inhibits the HCl secretion, and also the neurotensin. Biogenic amines, they include the norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. So epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine, these three are known as catecholamines, which are produced by the adrenal gland. Whereas serotonin, it is a hormone, and acetylcholine, it is also a neurotransmitter. It is formed from the acetyl CoA. Okay, from the acetyl CoA, the acetylcholine is formed. So these are the MCQs on the topics nervous system and cardiovascular system. And thank you.